The small nativity. I love making these. So this is the artwork that I had printed on fabric, and then I also have the sewing guide, and that fits over the artwork, and then I just sew on the line. So I sewed and cut out my pieces, and now I have to invert them. So I cut a hole in the back, and of course this isn't going to show because I'm going to glue this into the diorama that I made last week. So I'm just cutting this open, and then I have to invert it with my shish kebab skewer, which is what I use for inverting things. And you just want to make sure and poke out the corners. Now, this is probably one of my favorite pieces. I love the way this artwork came out. When I do the artwork for my mermaids and for these different ornaments, some of them come out particularly well, and this one did. It's one of my favorite ones. So I'm stuffing it with stuffing, not too full, but I'm going to do some detail top stitching on both of these just to give it a little detail. So I'm not stuffing it too firmly, but just a little bit. Then once I finish stuffing it, I have to sew up the backs of these. Now the backs won't show, so it doesn't have to be super neat because these pieces are going to get glued into a diorama. So you just have to close it up. You probably don't even have to close it up, but I do. And now I'm going to sew with my sewing machine the detail on that. And here it is, all done. Just that little detail top stitching really makes a difference. It's really nice. Now, I'm going to paint the crown gold, but I also paint the baby gold. And I also like to paint around the edges because I don't like that white edge showing. So this is dimensional fabric paint. I love putting this onto the Mary figure, and this works really well unless if it doesn't. Sometimes it has like an air pocket in it, and then it's so frustrating when that happens. And sometimes it gets clogged, which is why I had it all taped up. Now I really should have extended that line all the way down to the bottom on the right, but I didn't because I thought that the baby, when I glue it together, is going to cover that up, but it didn't. So I had to go back and extend that gold raised line. So I'm just painting the edges of these pieces so that the white edge doesn't show. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just using my fabric paints. And I just have to paint the edge really. Probably the edge wouldn't show, but I don't want to take a chance. So I'm doing the baby now with this metallic paint. These are all fabric paints. And that looks pretty good. Of course, you have to let everything totally dry. That dimensional paint, the gold dimensional paint, you really have to make sure you let it dry like 24 hours. Because if you handle it and you squash it, you end up just ruining the piece. So it's better just to be safe and let it dry for 24 hours. So here are my little pieces, and this is the diorama I showed last week, and these little guys fit right in there. Isn't that adorable? What a beautiful ornament. Thank you for watching. See you next time.